The aim of this presentation is to answer the question, how do individuals develop aggressive tendencies? So what does it mean to be aggressive? Well, the definition is to inflict damage or unpleasantness upon another, either in retaliation or without being provoked at all. Within this, there are two processes of aggression. The first is the swift and automatic appraisal process, which is due to unspecific negative feelings which result in an aggressive response of fight or flight. And the second is the elaborate and controlled appraisal process, which consists of being in a specific state of anger or fear as a result of cognitive processing. In this presentation, I will explain various different explanations for aggressive behaviour, such as a neural explanation of the limbic system, defects in neurotransmitters, the frustration-aggression hypothesis, and situational influences such as the media and alcohol. First, the limbic system. This involves structures of the amygdala, hypothalamus, and hippocampus, and is responsible for how an organism responds to threats in their environment and is believed to be the reason for whether or not a person reacts aggressively. For example, the hypothalamus is responsible for regulating the autonomic nervous system and our responses to emotional situations. Therefore, damage to this may result in inappropriate aggressive responses to threats. However, a problem with this is there is opposing evidence of other structures also being involved in aggressive behaviour. An example of this is the prefrontal cortex, which is the executive of the central nervous system, and reduced activity in this area can be a trigger for aggressive behaviour. Another biological explanation to aggressive behaviour is certain neurotransmitters such as serotonin and the MAOA gene. Serotonin is thought to inhibit aggression and increase self-control. Therefore, low levels are associated with impulsive or aggressive behaviours and a lack of this control. It is because of its involvement in regulating emotions and behaviour that it is able to inhibit aggression. In relation to the limbic system, as mentioned, serotonin also regulates the prefrontal cortex, explaining why low levels of serotonin influences our response to external stimuli. There are loads of bodies of research to support this link between serotonin and aggression, one being that a serotonin-reducing drug increased aggression in males. And similarly to this, an electric shock experiment found that participants given a serotonin-boosting drug gave fewer electrician shocks in the experiment due to lower levels of aggression. However, this was only found with those with aggressive backgrounds, supporting the role of serotonin in inhibiting aggression. There is also said to be a link between the MAOA gene and aggression. MAOA, also known as monoamine oxidase A, is an enzyme responsible for mopping up neurotransmitters such as serotonin after being transmitted across the synapse. This is controlled by the MAOA gene, which when affected, affects levels of serotonin in the brain. An example of supporting research for this is by Bruner et al. In 1993, who found a link between the gene responsible for producing MAOA and aggression when conducting research on a Dutch family. They found all members had criminal backgrounds and also had abnormally low levels of MAOA due to a gene defect. However, further research opposes this as it found this link was only in those with past childhood traumas, suggesting there may be an interaction between genes and the environment, giving support to a diathesis stress model instead. As mentioned, there are also psychological approaches to explaining why people become aggressive, and an example of this is the frustration-aggression hypothesis. This is centred around the belief that all frustration leads to aggression, and all aggression comes from frustration. Frustration is a blockage of goal-directed activity, and because of this, people experience the urge to be aggressive towards their object or person of frustration. However, this isn't always available or appropriate to do so they take this anger out onto something or someone else through displacement. This is done through catharsis, which is the process of relieving emotional stress. This theory was reformulated by Berkowitz in 1989 and now states that a negative effect is caused by frustration, and this is what causes the later aggression, not the original frustration. However, others claim that frustration also has an influence of physiological arousal and cognition as well. Cue arousal theory suggests aggression is just one consequence of frustration, and others can cause aggression as well, such as aggressive cues. Other research has also found that anxiety, unpleasant environment, and adverse circumstances can also have an effect on aggression as well. Another opposing view is that aggression occurs in a vicious cycle, leading to more and more aggression, as aggressive behaviour rarely happens once at a time, suggesting that catharsis is more complex than previously explained. This can be supported through further research that being cathartic actually increases the aggression instead of relieving it. There are also situational influences on aggression, such as media and alcohol. Firstly, media has been shown to increase aggression in viewers due to a number of factors causing both short-term and long-term effects in terms of aggression. Short-term effects of media violence is due to cognitive priming, arousal, and mimicking processes. Priming is the activation of brain networks by external stimuli triggering associated thoughts, emotions, and behaviours. These prime concepts increase the likelihood of associated behaviours, such as media violence leading to aggression. Media-induced arousal also leads to these short-term increases in aggression through excitation transfer where emotions are heightened, making people misinterpret the stimuli or general arousal, leading to inappropriate aggressive reactions. Lastly, imitating from media violence also causes viewers to replicate the behaviour just witnessed, such as that described in learning theory. However, long-term effects seem to be due to a more lasting observational learning and desensitisation. Through observation learning, children especially develop scripts which lead to the imitation of observed behaviours. Therefore, exposure to violence shapes an individual's perceptions of others' actions, making them react inappropriately, whereas through desensitisation, a person's natural emotional reaction declines in intensity over time, therefore increasing the aggressive behaviour without them experiencing their usual reactions. One dominating piece of research supporting this is Bandura's Bobadil experiment, which found children who watched a violent video were 3 times as likely afterwards to be aggressive, compared to those who didn't. However, studies disagree with these effects, arguing it is impossible to say media is certainly bad, recognising that under certain circumstances, television can be harmful. However, in some conditions, it may actually be beneficial, and generally, overall, it is neither harmful nor beneficial. Alcohol is another situational variable which can increase aggressive tendencies due to it reducing a person's inhibitions and ability to control impulses, which increases the number of physical assaults and even murders. This is because of the indirect effect that alcohol has on aggression, reducing a person's attentional capacity. To emphasise this, alcohol is involved in more than 2 million deaths each year worldwide. Surprisingly, it only takes a moderate dose of alcohol to cause motor, cognitive, and perceptual impairments and loss of control, all leading to aggression. However, a main criticism of this research is that reports have found this alcohol-induced aggression only really occurs in males, arguing that females may be overlooked as they express their aggression in an indirect form, whereas men express this directly and physically, making it easier to measure. There is an electric shock study which shows this, where participants were given either alcohol, placebo, or nothing, and findings showed that men given alcohol increased intensity and duration of the shock, whereas women only increased shock duration. In conclusion, not everybody develops aggressive tendencies for the same reason. It may be psychological or biological, or due to situational factors in their environment. Thank you for watching.